Mr. Mayor, we are now live and it is 6:30, so I shall pass over to you and ask you to start. You will need to unmute yourself.
I thought I had. I'm sorry, I thought I had. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the full council meeting on Thursday, the 28th of January, 2021. Just to remind everybody that the meeting is being live streamed, and therefore we need to behave as we would inside the council chamber. Notice is given that at a time agreed by the meeting, members of the public may make representation on the business of the agenda for the meeting. At the moment, we have one person waiting to speak at agenda item 4. At the moment, we are, as I say, we're all live streaming, so therefore, and we're all on Zoom, and we are complying with the necessary regulations of the Coronavirus Act. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence, John Clark, please, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've received 2 apologies for absence. One from Councillor Michelle Shaw, who was working. One from Councillor Zahil Zubair. Councillor Zubair's son is in surgery this evening, and I'm sure we wish him and his family all the best. And Councillor Hurd is joining the meeting, but he will be late. And all of the members are present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Agenda item number 3, declarations of interest. To receive declaration of interest on the consideration on this agenda in accordance with the Localism Act 2011, Section 32, and the relevant authorities' disclosable pecuniary interests regulations 2012. Members are reminded that should you declare a pecuniary interest at the meeting, it is your responsibility to inform the monitoring officer. Declarations of interest from members, are there any? That appears to be a no. Declaration of interest from officers.
There are none, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. I understand there's a lady wishing to speak at agenda item 4. Could you just ask that lady, please? What's her name, please?
It's Laura Kelly, Mr. Mayor. I'll just ask her to unmute.
Thank you.
If you bottom left-hand corner, Laura, there should be a little microphone symbol with a red line through. If you just give that
okay, can you hear me? Lovely, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Welcome to you. And
good evening.
You get 5 minutes, but if you go over a little bit, we're not too fussed. That said, what will normally happen is that you will tell us what you wanted to tell us. You can ask questions, but the chances are that any questions you do ask, you may receive a written reply rather than a verbal reply tonight, for obvious reasons that we probably may not even have the right answers to give you. However, what you do tell us tonight, I know it's talking about the bid, and we have an agenda item later on where councillors will be discussing that bid, and at that time they may refer to some of your questions that you may raise tonight. Are you okay with that?
That's fine, yeah.
Right, fire at that, then carry on, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. My name is Laura Kelly, and I have a boutique on North Street, Keithley. My personal experience of having a business in Keithley has confirmed my beliefs. Customers want shops to visit. They love to look and touch and try on products. Yes, online businesses have flourished, but there is still a niche in the market for small independent businesses. However, issues within the town have left me feeling disheartened and on occasions like moving my business. I'm wondering, what plans do Keithley Town Council have to encourage new businesses to come to Keithley? What plans do you have to replace the many rundown closed shops in Keithley? Also, although the new police station will be a great benefit to the town, is there anything that the town council can do to address antisocial behaviour? My main problems are street drinking and drug taking around my shop. Also, the central hub. I see this area as a green urban space, maybe a few trees to help clean air, some benches and a bit of hard standing. I believe this area could be used to hold family events, provide outdoor education, sing Christmas carols, and I think this space would complement the town hall square. Will you, as a Keithley Council, Town Council, keep the green space as a green space? Also, I'd like to know, how is the footfall calculated in Keithley? And what benefit have the businesses who have paid an extra levy of 1.5% to Keithley BID received? I believe now is the time to recreate Keithley by coming together to build a town the Keithley people are proud of. I would like to thank you all for your time, and I send stay well wishes to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. I understand we've got Inspector Carr from Keithley Police here, if you would like him to say a few words to you.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Inspector Carr, would you like to address the antisocial and behaviour and the street drinking, please?
Yes, I will, Chair. Laura, thank you for raising the issues. And I fully understand where you're coming from. The issues around street drinkers and antisocial behaviour, I accept, is not new. And beggars as well, let's not forget them. But a considerable amount of work has gone in to address those problems, to track those problems. The problem with the street drinkers is a bit unique in the sense that as much as they are a nuisance, as much as they are, the perception is not good when people see them drinking, a number of them are quite vulnerable people as well, who rather than prosecution need support and help. So we've been working with Project 6 as well. I don't know whether you're aware, but they've got a really good setup up there, which they're trying to work with us. But COVID's had its limitations recently in terms of how we can divert them and get them away. Those who are causing problems, and let me make this absolutely crystal clear, those who are committing offences and committing criminal offences, whether they are beggars, whether they are street drinkers, action is taken against them. Against our prominent street drinkers who are not just street drinking there, but causing a lot of antisocial behaviour, but attracting the other street drinkers as well. We have taken action against them, and there's criminal behaviour orders, which we call them CBOs, which in the old days you probably would know them as ASBOs, specific ASBOs against those people, individuals, to make sure that they then don't return back to Keithley. What we always quite often find is that when we normally get rid of the ringleaders, the others kind of disperse as well or get the message. Those CBOs are just on hold at the moment simply because there's so much demand at the courts. From our end, everything is ready. We're just waiting for the courts to process them and get them ready. In terms of antisocial behaviour, I'll give you an update, but then you can ask me anything you want after that.
Okay.
In terms of antisocial behaviour, that is an absolute priority for us. And we not only work ourselves there, but we work with the Airedale Shopping Centre, the bus centre, our colleagues from the council, youth services, and there's different levels of antisocial behaviour. There's an element of youths who turn up in the evenings, they're on their bikes, they cause a nuisance, and we deal with them again. If they're committing criminal offences, then we will deal with them positively by using the law. If it's an element of just antisocial behaviour and they're causing a nuisance, then we utilise our powers under the Crime and Disorder Act and utilise our powers and get the various orders on them. So we'll visit their parents, we'll issue them warnings. And the reason is that One of the key things is that we like to put those interventions in place, because at the end of the day, nobody wants these youths to be criminalised. And we can see down the line that once youths are criminalised at a younger age, then when they get older as well, then unfortunately they become a bigger problem for us. But yet again, let me make this absolutely clear, that if they commit criminal offences, then they will get dealt with. They will get dealt with. On top of that, we do get issues sometimes with some disorders we've had in the town centre between groups. We've had issues with people in drink causing antisocial behaviour. So we've been regularly dealing with that. And we're very grateful for the support that the town centre and the Airedale Centre and the bus station providers as well in relation to that, in terms of the evidence that we get from their CCTV. In terms of beggars, keep fingers crossed, we're nowhere near as bad as some other areas, but beggars do turn up every now and then. And when they do turn up, then I can assure you that we always deal with them proactively. We have to collate the evidence. Unfortunately, there's processes in place which not been put by us, but when we do go to court, the courts ask us if we have gone through these interventions to try to address them. Now, begging is a criminal offence. If they commit an offence, they can be arrested for that offence. But try to get, fine a beggar, it kind of defeats the object, because they're begging in the first place because they haven't got money. So we again have gone down the criminal behaviour order lines, and there's probably I can't remember top of my head, but I think we probably have got 3 or 4 beggars in Keithley who've got criminal behaviour orders. What that basically means is that they can't come into Keithley, they can't beg in Keithley, or they can't cause any form of antisocial behaviour in Keithley. And on top of the beggars, we've also got criminal behaviour orders against a couple of individuals as well in the town centre. You probably know some of them very well yourselves. You'll see them in your doorways, and that individual currently is in prison. We've also got some juveniles. I think one of them now may have become an adult, but a major problem in the town centre. Again, sometimes unfortunately these things do take time. It's a process that we have to go through with courts. But again, we depend on evidence, and evidence is not just in the form of a written evidence, but also that person may need to come to court and give evidence to support us as well. And that's where sometimes we find the difficulties that we encounter. But I can absolutely assure you that we're absolutely determined, and that's one of the main reasons why we're looking at bringing the police station into town. Dedicated officers for the town, both PCSOs and PCs, and not just dedicated officers, but as a matter of default for my other officers, specifically the PCSOs, that when they are, if there's on their way back or before they're waiting for the bus, we direct them to come into town as well and keep an eye on in town.
Thank you very much, Councillor Inspector Khan. I was expecting a slightly more comprehensive answer. It was absolutely fabulous. That. Are you? I'm speaking. Do you wish to ask Councillor Khan any questions? I know Councillor Adams would like a word. Would you like to speak now, Julie? Councillor Adams?
Yeah, sorry, I was just unmuting. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Laura for coming, because I think she's got some really valid points there. And I know myself and Councillor Westerman have had a couple of meetings with Laura over the past 6 months, and she seems to just want to do good for the town. She's trying to get businesses on board with Keithley Town Council to work with the council for the better of the town, which is lacking quite a bit. The only thing I will say to you, Laura, you asked the question about the green space, and I know that the council as a whole, we would like the green space opposite Wetherspoons to continue to be a green space.
Brilliant.
I think unfortunately Bradford Council want to make it a hub, but I think, as our mayor and as other councillors have quite rightly pointed out on here before, there's many empty large buildings that could be used as a hub in the town centre.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
We could keep that green space. So I know and I think many other councillors on here would still fight for that green space.
Brilliant. That is brilliant news. I'm really happy about that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Could I just say something about, am I still higher? I'm just wondering, for me as a business, I understood that there was a blanket ban on street drinking. Now, I'm not saying that the street drinkers, and I have a heart, I care about everybody, you know, but for a business, it's intimidating for people to walk past and see groups of people drinking. So can we enforce with a firm hand the blanket ban on street drinking? And go on, sorry.
First of all, there isn't a blanket ban. The ban is no antisocial drinking in the town centre. Otherwise, it could affect quite a few businesses as well if it turns out that way. And we do that. So because it's a PSPO area, Public Service Protection Order, is in place for Keithley specifically to prevent that from happening. And we work with the council public PSPO officers. It's a mouthful to say, but PSPO officers, and they come on a regular basis, although it's slightly been reduced during COVID. We work with them, we regularly go with them, we target the drinkers, and whenever we see the drinkers, my staff know very, very clearly what our direction is in relation to it. First of all, we ask if they're drinking, we ask them to leave the town centre, and if they don't wish to leave the town centre, then we ask them to dispose of their drink. Which, I'll be honest with you, when we are there and when we ask them to do it, they comply. It probably hurts them immensely, but they do comply with us.
What can we get a blanket ban on it?
I'm sorry, Laura, but
Sorry.
your 5 minutes are well and truly up.
Sorry.
However, there are a lot of questions, and this meeting is recorded, so we won't miss anything. There are one or two answers that I could probably give you this evening, but I think it's probably better that we'll give you a comprehensive answer, and we'll write to you and let you know.
In writing, yeah.
In writing, so you know precisely what the town council are doing, what they're proposed to do, and some of the difficulties that we have in delivering some of the things that you're asking for. But thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your time. I'm pleased that Inspector Khan was here to answer some of your police-related questions. You don't, and that I'm hoping that has given you a little bit more reassurance. And we don't want you to leave, Keithley, because I'm one of them that likes to try stuff on as well. So there you go. All right. Thank you very much,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Councillor Actor, just in case you can't see him, has been waiting patiently with his hand up.
Oh, I do apologise, Councillor Actor. It's difficult with all these little thumbnails, but please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're forgiven, it's okay. And thank you, Laura, for your input this evening. Very vital and interesting to hear. You mentioned antisocial behaviour. I know Mr. Khan has spoken at length about it, and I am chair of the Watch and Transport Committee, and I can assure you that we are actually working on something in partnership with in communities to provide CCTV cameras, mobile CCTV cameras in particular hotspots where it's identified that it's a particular problem. So therefore, that's one thing. If you want to get in touch, actually, Watch and Transport next meeting is this coming Monday. But if you wish to come along there, and some of the questions you actually asked, are more sort of pertinent to that committee, and we'll be able to hopefully work with you, because Inspector Khan is going to be there as well. So without prolonging it, so that's one thing that Keithley Town Council is doing, CCTV cameras, mobile, and they're only temporary for a short while, but it's something that we could do and look at. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Aptar.
Sorry, Chair, last one. Councillor Kirby is the last one, Chair.
Sorry, yeah, Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak, please? Councillor Kirby, have you unmuted yourself?
Have I unmuted now, Chair?
You have indeed, yes, thank you.
Thank you. It was just Inspector Khan. Has he gone? Has he still?
Oh, he's still with us.
Hello, Inspector Khan. Nice to see you. You mentioned the antisocial behaviour in the town. I have seen a drop in that outside the bus station, but you also mentioned about the youths having visits to the parents' home. Could you possibly get back to us, or if you've got the information now, how many of them youths have you actually visited at home are still coming into the town? And you're increasing your foot patrols. You said that the police are there when they're rung. Well, that's actually not true, but the drinking on Church Green, I've actually seen Bradford Council wardens actually move them on and take the drinks off them, which I thank Bradford Council for that. But it's just the amount of children that are still coming, and they are children, they're young, are coming into the town that have been visited by the police to the parents, as you rightly said earlier on. How many of them are still actually coming into the town, and do you know that? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Khan, Councillor, I'm sorry, Inspector Khan, I'm just forced to have it.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my unmute button working. My apologies. Sorry, John, you said something that I said which was untrue. Sorry, which bit was that?
Chair, I think Councillor Kerr was referring to I think seeing police officers in the town centre, I think is what he was referring to.
Yeah. Well, no, sorry, we do have each ward has a police officers dedicated, allocated to them, and the town centre has 2 police officers. Well, say Central Ward has 2 police officers allocated to them, and which incorporates the town centre first and foremost. So it's not untrue. It is true what I am saying, and they have been doing quite a bit of work with the various partners in the town as well. In terms of how many we've issued, I don't know at the moment. I do know that we have there's a process in place, John, and the process is that when we first come across them, we issue them with a yellow warning letter. We also now have a pilot scheme in Keithley, which is called the All Age Early Help, and we have early help, early intervention officers. There's a PC and 2 dedicated PCSOs working in Keithley, performing that role. So when these youngsters are coming into town, coming to our attention for the first time, where we are going to do an early intervention, then between the PC and the 2 PCSOs will go and visit them. Prior to that, I'm not sure how far I can go back to get that information, but we have a process in place where the process is that we will go and issue them a yellow warning letter in front of their parents. If they come back and they still are misbehaving, now nothing can stop them from coming back into town. Let's make this absolutely clear. If they come into town and misbehave, that's where our powers come into place. We will issue them a red warning letter, and if that doesn't work, then we have to issue them an antisocial behaviour contract. And if that doesn't work, then we go down the line of criminal behaviour orders. And we follow this process with a number of the youngsters. There's a specific individual who's caused absolutely havoc in the town centre. We've not only issued the criminal behaviour order for her for Keithley, but then she went down to Bradford and started causing problems there. So we just extended that order for Bradford as well. So that is a process. Like I said, they can come back in town. No one's stopping these youngsters from coming back into town. As long as they are not misbehaving, that is absolutely fine. When they misbehave, then we will take the next step and deal with them accordingly, John.
Thank you very much, Inspector Khan. I'm going to move on from this particular item now, because some of the questions that are being asked and the answers, which are great, really belong at the Watch and Transport Committee. That they would no doubt want you to and give you prior notice of any sort of questions I might want to ask you if they need figures. But I will thank you very much for your extremely good and extremely informative input tonight. Thank you. Agenda item 5, Town Mayor, it's to receive the Town Mayor's opening remarks. My opening remarks tonight are that I would like people to pay our respects and hopefully have a 1 minute silence, because in this week Bradford passed over 1,000 deaths for coronavirus. The former Lord Mayor, Councillor Abid Hussain, sadly passed away. A former mayoress of Keithley, Mrs. Marion Wright, Tony Wright's mayoress, passed away a couple of days ago. And on that particular note, I'd like to just inform people that she's been taken into St Anne's Church on the Monday night at 5 p.m, where if you wish to go and pay your respects, you can. The funeral on Tuesday, however, will be closed because of COVID. There will be very few people allowed at that. And it was also on yesterday, the 27th of January, the Holocaust Memorial Day. So if I could just ask you all, just for one short moment of this time, just to give our prayers to all the people and the families of the people that I've mentioned. Thank you. We'll start now. Thank you very much for that, councillors. Number 2, to receive details of the invitations that I've accepted. Well, as you're probably aware, because of COVID, very little has happened. Although I did with the mayoress visit Airedale Hospital, where we did our, we gave the biscuits and tea to each ward just before Christmas. And on the beginning of January, I laid a wreath at the Tulip Memorial for the people, Royal Canadian Air Force people who were sadly killed up there. Agenda item 6, minutes for decision. Can I have a proposer, please, for the full council minutes of Thursday, the 26th of November 2020?
Councillor Westerman is proposing, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Westerman. Can I have a seconder?
Councillor Adams is seconding, Chair.
Councillor Adams, thank you very much. All those in favour?
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 7, reports from district councillors and invited guests. Councillor Russell Brown from Bradford Council. Do you have anything you would like to say to us at this meeting?
Yes, if I can get myself unmuted, which I think I have. Today I attended the funeral of Councillor Mike Ellis, a former Worth Valley councillor and was Bingley Rural. He was a whip in my group, but his knowledge of matters of flood damage, risk and management and waste management will be greatly missed by the entire district. I think he was fairly involved in all the stuff that went on in Riddlesdean and also around the district. I considered him to be a very great friend and a mentor to me and many young councillors around. Floods, we've had lots of preparation work going on in Haworth, which is out of your district, of course, but there's been some stuff done around Oakworth, and we are still trying to get funding to sort lots of little problems out all over. Police vehicles, right, we've had a rash of 4x4, I can only call it vandalism, mainly in Haworth and Oxenhoe, but apparently it turns out that our police have not got a vehicle that can actually attend these events, and so there are now many police no-go areas in the outer rural parts of the districts, to such an extent that apparently one police vehicle was stuck and these vandals trashed it and tried to steal all the equipment out of it. I have raised this matter with the Police and Crime Commissioner. I've had a conversation this very evening with the director of the City of Culture bid, and I have impressed upon him that a lot of the stuff that Keithley's been up to over the last couple of 100 years should really be represented in that bid. And he has given me a few challenges to fulfil. So I'm not sure whether the town council would like to form a little group, or I could have a chat with a group of interested councillors. I'd be more than keen to try and put something together for that, because I think we do need to elbow our way to that table. The Towns Fund, it comes up later, and if you want me to speak on that, I will speak on it, but it's very difficult. I mean, I'm interested to hear what Laura said, and to be fair, fully supportive of what she's saying. But we should be at that table and coming up with a better plan than this proposed. But I fear time's moved on so much that that's not likely to be an option to us. But there's still time. I've no idea whether we can do anything, but we'll still do that type of thing. So I did lay the Lord Mayor's wreath at the Chewett Memorial on the anniversary of the crash date. And ironically, there was, at that same time, the MP turned up, the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, Janet Armstrong and her husband, and one or two others. Not planned, but we just turned up together, and it was quite emotional. But anyway, if you have any questions for me, here I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Does anybody wish to ask Councillor Brown anything?
Can't see any hands raised, Chair.
No hands raised. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Brown. You would have seen my wreath there as well, because I think I beat you to it. Right. Committee agenda item 8, committee meetings. This is to receive the minutes of the meetings of the committees and note that they are a true record. These meetings will be the Human Resources Committee, 17th of November 2020, Policy and Governance, 3rd of November 2020, Policy and Governance, the 1st of December 2020, Planning, 10th of November 2020, Planning, 19th of November 2020, Planning, the 24th of November 2020, Planning, the 8th of December 2020, and the 22nd of December 2020. Finance and Audit for the 16th of November 2020 and the 21st of December 2020. Allotments and Landscapes for the 12th of October 2020. Events and Leisure for the 12th of November 2020. Civic Centre and Strategy on the 11th of November, and the Town Planning Steering Group on the 9th of December 2020. As these are to be noted and accepted as true records, can I have a proposer for those, please?
Councillor Westerman and Councillor Andrea Walker.
Thank you, Councillor Westerman and Councillor Andrea Walker. All those in favour of accepting those?
Yeah, that's enough, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, committee vacancies for decision. There are 3 vacancies, 1 on the Allotments and Landscapes Committee, 1 on the Civic Centre and Strategy Committee, and 1 on the Community Development Committee. Where more than 2 persons have been nominated for a position to be filled by the council and none of those persons have received an absolute majority of votes in their favour, the name of the person having the least number of votes will be struck off the list and a fresh vote taken. This process will continue until a majority of votes is given in favour of 1 person. A tie in votes may be settled by the casting vote exercisable by the chairman of the meeting. So we'll go straight. Allotments and Landscapes. Do we have any persons wishing to join the Allotments and Landscapes?
Yeah. Councillor Adams with a hand in the air, Councillor Kirby and Councillor Westerman.
Councillor Adams, as Deputy Mayor, can't join it, but do Do you wish to speak, Councillor Adams? Is that why you got your hand up?
Yes, yes, I do, Chair, thank you. What I wanted to say was, can we just remind councillors to think about what committees they're putting themselves forward for, and if they are putting themselves forward, can they give their time to attend these committee meetings? That's all.
Yeah, a valid point and well made. I understand that later on that Councillor Martin Walker would like to speak on a similar theme. So can we go? Sorry,
Councillor Westerman was next.
Councillor Westerman, are you putting yourself forward?
No, Chair. What I was going to suggest, or try to suggest, is that we may have 3 co-options coming up soon. Perhaps we could leave this for a later date to allow the new 3 councillors to take a position on a committee. Rather than do it tonight, we have 5 vacancies, as you know. 2 is going to be through an election, and 3 possibly, if there's no names in by tomorrow, could be co-option. And I would prefer to leave it open and just see if the new councillors want to sit on some committees to get the feet under the table ready for the next civic year.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think we've done this in the past. I think I was actually in your position the last time this happened, and I said exactly the same as you do. That it might be a good idea to leave these vacancies open until after we know whether or not we're having.
I'd like to propose that.
So I'll leave this. I cast this open to the floor. I mean, if you want to propose that, then I'll accept that as a proposal.
Yes, Chair.
Do we have a seconder for Councillor Westerman's proposal? Councillor Dowse? I'm just going to make sure I'll just bring the town clerk and make sure I'm not doing something I shouldn't.
No, Chair, you're fine. Obviously, if any member does particularly want to fill one of the vacancies, they can still put themselves forward and we can take it to a vote. Okay. I'm not seeing any expression of interest from any of the members, so I think you can move to the vote on the proposal.
Right, the proposal is that we defer these committee vacancies until after we know whether or not A, we're having co-options or we're going to a vote. All those in favour?
That's passed, Chair.
That's carried. Thank you very much. So we will, that particular agenda item will go back onto the agenda for when the necessary people have joined us. Thank you very much for that. Right. Agenda item 10. Budget and precept for the financial year 2021 to 22. I call upon the proposer, Councillor Claire Abberton. And Councillor Martin Walker, I mean, you've got your hand up. Is there a reason for that?
If I understand what Councillor Westerman has said correctly, there are going to be at least 2 by-elections for those 3 vacancies. There is a cost implication involved with that. No,
you didn't understand him correctly. What he was saying was that there is already an election for Bracken Bank. That's been in the pipeline for months. What he's saying is that if there are no if these 3 new vacancies don't require elections, then they will be co-opted, for which there will be no cost implication.
Right. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Thank you very much. No, it's a perfectly valid question. That's fine. Thank you very much. So I refer back to my original statement. Agenda item 10, Councillor Claire Abberton, please.
Good evening, everybody. You'll have seen the budget document sent out earlier than the other full-time council papers, and you will also be aware that you've been invited to the 6 budget briefings held between the 11th of January and the 20th of January. These meetings, chaired by the town clerk, were held to allow you to be taken through the budget and precept and to allow you to voice any concerns that you might have had. The office, the budget working group and the Finance and Audit Committee have worked extremely hard to give you a balanced budget without delving into the reserves, but to still allow us to fulfil our commitment to the people of Keighley. My proposal is that we, the council, accept the draft budget and precept set out in these documents.
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. And do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Curtis. Before I go to the vote, has anybody got anything they wish to add to that statement?
Amjad Ahmed has his hand up, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Amjad Ahmed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just with regard to the proposed budget, there was a couple of questions I emailed the office today as well. One of them was, what is the current balance of all our accounts that we've got? I got the answers for that, and that was that. Well, can I say what the balances were, Clark? Or
yeah, there's nothing secret about it, Councillor Ahmed. Yeah.
Because I noticed there were some members of the public. So basically, there's a treasurer's account with around £39,000 in, and there's a commercial account with 362. So that's £402,000 we've got in the accounts. And the other question was, what will be the balance as of the 31st of March? So taking out our expenditure. So what was the answer to that, Clark?
Chair, so the prediction in your report is that by the end of the year, you will have approximately £265,000 left in your reserve. So that will be, once you paid all your bills for this financial year, you will roughly have, the prediction currently is 265. Is a prediction. I'm trying to forecast it as best I can week by week. It may increase slightly, or it may even slightly go down. I think it will probably go up. But that's what our forecast is as of lunchtime today.
Right, thank you. So with regards to that, then the next question was, we've got a treasurer's account and a commercial account. You know, I was looking at the paperwork. So which account is the 30-day account? Because you've got a 30-day account. So which account is that? Is that the treasurer's account or the commercial account, or is that a totally separate account?
Well, so we have two banks. So we have two live bank accounts. The treasurer account is the day-to-day bank account. That is what we pay your bills out of. That is what the direct debits for heating, etc., come out of. So that account always has, at the end of every day, £40,000 in. So if we today paid some bills, let's say we paid £2,000 of bills today, overnight, the £2,000 will be taken from your commercial account and put back into your commercial coal. So it is two bank accounts, but it's better to look at it as one figure, because it's just where we separate it out. So we have a bank account which just deals with the day-to-day payments rather than all activity purely coming out of the commercial coal.
So which is the 30-day account?
I assume you mean we get the highest interest, Councillor Ahmed, off the commercial coal account. Right,
okay. So yeah, that's fine, but I still don't understand what is our 30-day account, because what is the balance for this account?
Well, check. There are two live bank accounts. One is called the treasurer account, which is the one that has £40,000 in, and one is called the commercial coal account, which, as Councillor read the figure out, which is about 362,000 as of this morning. They're the two bank accounts. That's cash book 1, cash book 2, which go to Finance Committee every month, and they're the ones that the MAP reconciliation is based on. If you want to call something different, I can double check for you, Councillor Army, but I don't have the information in front of me. If it's been called something different in the past, I will come back to you.
Yep. No, I think that's kind of well answered. It that you said cash book 1 and cash book 2. I'm going to come to that point in a little while. And on the budget paperwork, I couldn't find what are the allocated reserves or the earmarked monies, because we couldn't seem to find that on there.
Yeah, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. In the budget paper, the earmark, the reserves you set aside in your budget for this year are included, and they are displayed. Again, you know, the days of carrying over earmark reserves from year to year to year, we're trying to move away from. We are trying to do one-off projects, capital funding out of your reserves. So you had projects in this current financial year, such as the access system for the Civic Centre, which you completed. You set aside some money to buy a new vehicle. That hasn't happened this year, so that will just be put back into your general reserves at the end of the year, and that's been incorporated into the figure in your report. You set aside money to do some work at guardhouse allotments. That hasn't come to fruition, so that will go back in. So there isn't, you have in your budget and in your budget sheet the one-off projects, and there's some one-off projects that have been suggested for the budget you're trying to agree tonight. But in terms of carryover, if it isn't spent by 31st of March, it just goes back into the reserves. We're not going to be earmarking lots and lots of different pots of funding to carry it forward each year.
Right, so basically what I asked you about all the accounts from the finance and committee minutes, meeting on the 18th of January, there was some paperwork there. So basically the Keithley Town Council cash book 1 pay 484 for the month 9. It says there that the balance was brought forward £38,447.80. And then there were some banked items. So there was money that was banked all month. So there was some money that was transferred on the 31st of the 12th, 2020. Now there's about 12 transactions there on the 31st of the 12th, 2020. Now, this is the reason why I was asking how much money we have, for the simple reason, just bear with me a moment. So let me just bring this paperwork up, and then I can just read the figures out here. Bear with me a moment. Here it is. So with reference, this was all the paperwork that was in the meeting last week. So there's money coming in from everywhere, and it was being banked. So now my concern is it's saying here there's a 30-day notice account where money has been transferred from that account. Now, like I said, the starting balance was £38,447.80. So you've been putting money in, but then there were about 12 transactions on the 30th. Now, one of these transactions is for £1,164,372. So this was a transaction that was put into this account.
Chair, do you mind if I just clarify that point?
Yeah, but can I just say, before we go back to Councillor Ahmed, Councillor Mounsell has a point of order. So when you finish talking, I want to go to Councillor Mounsell.
Yeah. So the cash book 1 and cash book 2, the paperwork that the Finance and Audit Committee get is the actual what happens when we transfer money, as I said, from the commercial court into the transfer account. What happened, the RFO, when inputting the figures, put a decimal point in the wrong place. So it looked like 1 point, I think it's 1.2, 1.3 was paid, was transferred from accounts. It wasn't. The reality system that we use doesn't allow to correct errors. So if you actually read it through, you will see it looks like it's been paid back in and paid back out. It was a typing error. Finance and Audit Committee were made aware of it at the last meeting. Finance and Audit Committee admitted that it was a typing error. And if you look back at the very bottom in terms of the back reconciliation, that is the figure you need to pay attention to. So it looked, I asked the same question, Councillor Armour, when I first saw it. It was literally a typing error when doing the cash book 1 transfers from cash book 2. It's not actual money that moved from the account. If you want to look at the actual statements of the bank accounts, that we can show you them. You can see that unfortunately, it'd be very nice if we had that amount of money in our bank, but we don't. It was literally a typing error in the cash books. But the cash book really is just a record of moving money from our commercial call into our treasury account, and it was a typing error, but that was brought to the attention of the Finance and Audit Committee last time.
That's fine.
Thank you. Councillor Mounsell, please.
Yeah, the point of order is a point of clarification. I don't really know what this has to do with the budget. I mean, all of these questions and queries could have been fleshed out during any one of those briefings which had been organised by Joe. This has nothing to do with us going forward. This has nothing to do with our budget for next year. This just seems to be treading water for no particular reason. So I just want clarification of where this is going and what implications it's actually going to have on the topic at hand, which is the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Mounsell.
Can I answer that?
Well, you can, but I'm of the same mind as Councillor Mounsell. I don't. You could have asked these questions. There were 10. Well, no, tell a lie. There were 6 budget briefing meetings that you could have attended and asked these questions at. I don't know why you've chosen tonight to ask them. You've also had the papers for 10 days. So I think you've been. I think the point is, unless you've got any other particular questions to ask that are relevant to the budget, I'm going to move on.
Yep, I have just a quick thing. Yep, I think the reason why I haven't attended any of these meetings is I've never received the paperwork until I'm sure the clerk can help me out on that, when I had to pop into the office to pick it up, and I picked it up, I think, on the actual last day of the meeting.
Do you not have a tablet, Councillor?
I do have a tablet, but I've told the office that I prefer paperwork sent out to me, so it just makes it easier for me. But moving on, Chair, Mr. Mayor, so that's fine. So I can just bear me a moment. Yeah. There was a bit, well, there was some with regards to allocated reserves, you know, with the allocated reserves. So on the paperwork that we received originally, it's saying that unallocated reserves would be for 2021 will be 207,476. That's on the big paperwork that we received. But the paperwork that we some other paperwork that we received, it's saying there that the reserves will be 267,441 pounds. So there's a difference there of 60,000. That's another query. And finally,
can I stop you there, Councillor? You need to ask these questions of the Finance Committee.
No, because we're making a decision, we as councillors make sure that we have the proper paperwork in front of us.
You have the proper
informed decision. And finally, this is the final thing. As you can see from this paperwork here, the one that we got today, if you have a look at the income total on page 5, it says income total £571 and £571 and 763 pence. Expenditure total 693. So the surplus will be 121. This was at the beginning of the year. We'll be using the reserves of 121. Now an up-to-date figure is saying that we will be using 38,000, roughly 38,574,000 pounds from the reserves. So that means that if we, according to this paperwork, say if we do use an extra 10,000 up to March, then that means we will have an underspend of around 80,000 pounds. Now, if we've got underspend of 80,000 pounds this year, and we will actually have that, so with regards to last year, the precept was 528,000, so near enough 529,000. This year, we're asking for a precept. Well, it's contradicting because on the budget paperwork, it's saying 598,000, but on the information sheet, it's saying 595. So we go for 598. So so basically what we're asking this year is an extra 70,000 pounds from the taxpayers in Keithley. Now, because we're having that saving from the surplus from last year's expenditure, why are we going to the taxpayer to ask them 70,000 pounds when we can actually take it from the money that we saved from this year's budget?
Okay, thank you for that question. Councillor Adams. You need to unmute, Julie. Thank you.
I have. I'm just amazed. Every councillor received an email, and they also received a follow-up email inviting us to a budget review meeting to avoid this. There's hundreds and hundreds of questions there. And to be quite honest, I totally agree with the mayor. This should have gone to the Finance Committee. Whether you prefer paperwork or not, you do get that information on your tablet. And we also get the information, well, this particular information in hard copies by the post as well. But if you read your emails, you would see that there was 2 emails inviting you to a budget review group. And with so many questions, Councillor Ahmed, with respect, all the questions you've asked today, you should have attended one of those meetings.
Yeah, we've got Councillor Graham was next, and then Councillor Westerman were next.
Right, Councillor Graham, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm amazed that we're getting these questions at such a late stage. Every councillor has a tablet, and all councillors have been given training on using their tablets. So we all get the same information at the same time. We all knew the budget was going to be discussed tonight. It is each councillor's responsibility to go through that paperwork before this, and if they have any questions, go back to either the town clerk or to the finance meeting. By the time Councillor Ahmed has been through all of his questions, I'm actually confused now as to what he's talking about, when actually I wasn't before all of this. So I think we have to move on and talk about the budget and not about what Councillor Ahmed thinks is wrong with the figures. It's too late for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Westerman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also thank you, Councillor Abberton, Chair of and all of the Finance Committee and the Budget Working Group. I've looked through all this, and one thing we really need to go back to is something you said, Mr. Mayor, when you was a mere mortal like any of the councillors, when you was just sat there watching.
It will soon happen again.
It will soon happen again. You did say, I'm going back to 2015, when you said the support grant from Bradford Council will be run out in 3 years' time, which it was. We don't want to be in a position of having very low precept rises, like 0%, things like this, and come to a stage where we might go back to where we had to do many years ago and did a 73.6% rise. You know, in the last 2 years, since 2019-20, the support grant from Bradford Council, which was £80,000 then, has gone to 0. You know, we have got to work out how we can budget with that £80,000 loss in mind. I, for one, will be supporting this budget, looking at that, because I don't want to be one of those councillors that PK for Little John are going to come back to and say, you've done all this wrong and you've whacked your budget up 76% in 3 years' time. I'm not going to sit around and wait for that, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to thank, once again, the Budget Working Group, the Finance Committee, and the clerk and any office staff that's put work into this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Now you've got Councillor Hurd and Councillor Munsell next.
Say that again, please.
Councillor Hurd and then Councillor Munsell.
Right, thank you. Councillor Hurd, please.
Hello, how are you doing? I just want to say, I think the Keithley Town Council has been doing an excellent job with the budget, and I just propose us move this to the vote. Can we just move it to the vote, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mansell, do you want to say anything before I move to the vote?
Just to summarise, I mean, I think we've had a visit to the Twilight Zone tonight, so let's try to get back to sanity. Last year, we set a deficit budget. And since then, the focus of the Finance Committee and the office and everything else is getting that balance, because that's what's important. The fact is that a great deal of work has gone into this. Every budget line has been looked at, projected, estimated, adjusted to make sure that it can work. We've made cutbacks when it comes to staffing. Allotments and Civic Centre are looking at ways to increase our income to make sure that we're responsible. A reserves policy is going to be in development very soon to make sure that we protect our reserves and know where we stand with that. And there are still things in here when we look at will need to be changed and fixed in the future. But considering where we were to where we are now, this budget is a massive success, and this council should be proud of that. It isn't the final destination. There's still a long way to go. I fully endorse this budget and would like to second Councillor Hurd, and let's move it to a vote.
Thank you. Councillor Abberton, as a proposer, are you happy with that?
Chair, Councillor Akhtar does wish to speak. It's your
Okay,
choice.
Councillor Akhtar, if you, final speak, please, because we are going to move to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, thank you to the Finance Committee for all the hard work that they have actually done. And only question I have is, what percentage rise are we going out to the public for a start? And secondly, which is the figure that we're actually asking? I'm just quite right. There are different figures. If you had a look at all the figures, I'm surprised that you understood it all, because there are different figures. And which figure we're going for. And finally, because I have to agree with Amjad, because you've actually made a saving from your reserves, right, what we would actually commit to spend, then I personally would have liked the Finance Committee to have looked at the fact that we made this saving, and considering the time we're going through, currently pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty, impact on people in terms of finance, that our committee would have looked at that and perhaps this year, once again, subsidize that and have a zero increase. So therefore, because they have not done that, personally, for a council that has one statutory sort of duty, which is allotments, to have 10 workers, I'm going to vote against it. Because in the past, you see, we always had two versions, for the people to decide here tonight. Look, there's budget version A and budget version B, all right? All the councillors could have a look at it and see what impact this will have on the people of Keithley, the precept payers. Now, finally, I think it's unfair to be attacking Councillor Amjad. It's totally wrong. This is not council policy to attend these budget meetings. And as he says, he didn't get it to the last day. I don't know how you expect him to ask all these questions. Tonight is a town council meeting that people are actually watching us. We're not pushing things under the carpet. We're not pushing anybody's concerns to the side. I think answers should be given. I don't understand why that has been an issue. But anyway, because I personally, there's only one version of the budget that has come forward to us, and with what we have, I can't vote for it.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd just like to point out a couple of things. The increase is small in comparison to everybody else's. It's 12.6% if you're asking for percentages, but it's 28 pence a month, 28p a month for a band A house. As far as the pandemic's concerned and the COVID and all the other the things you said about people not being able to afford this, every year Bradford Council do a calculation based on people who can't pay, don't pay, and people who are in single occupancy homes. Those houses are deducted as a matter of course from the tax base. This year, because of COVID, this council has suffered a further 200 houses been taken from that tax base. Not only that, and over and above that, £5,000 that we received from Bradford Council for the Town Hall Square has also been removed from that budget. So £80,000 from the budget, the community grant, 200 houses, which equates to somewhere in the region of £9,000, and £5,000 from the Town Hall Square. If you take into account that last year we were taking 70,000, the 70,000 pounds you talk about is the 70,000 pound we were taking from the reserves last year. You voted for that. You voted for that budget last year, and because we have had certain things that we haven't spent, but I think you know, the Events and Leisure have already asked for £12,500 to be carried forward to do lighting for Eid and Christmas lighting for next year. So that £70,000 isn't a saving. It's just simply a matter of the money that we were going to take out of the reserves, we're probably not going to have to take quite as much. But the truth is, you can't keep on taking money out of reserves and expect to go forward with a viable, sustainable council. So having said that, it's perfectly within your rights, councillor, to vote against this budget. But now, please, I want to go to the votes. So can we please have a show of hands? All those in favour?
Chair, I think Councillor Akhtar raised an important point. I will just clarify what members are exactly voting for. So the recommendation set out in the report, there are two things. Three, that you agree the budget proposal for year 21-22, that you agree the recommended Finance and Audit Committee proposed precept, which is 595438. But that figure, it all depends on how you do the calculation of the council tax base timesing the precept amount. So it's your total amount. So it's 595438 is the figure that Bradford have told us. You need to agree that. They need to agree that also the town mayor signs the precept demand, which has to be submitted tomorrow. And the precept demand for a band D, which is your middle property, will be 3969. So you do 3969 times by your council tax base, that gets you precept. So that's what your proposal has been proposed and seconded, and that's what you're going to vote on.
Thank you. All those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've counted 15 in favour. Can you just keep your hands up, please, councillors? And can we can you just count as well, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's definitely carried. There's at least 19 councillors there.
Thank you. Well, I must go through the motions. All those against?
I've got 1, 2. I can see 2 against, Chair, and just last one's abstentions.
No abstentions, please.
1, 2, 3 abstentions, Chair.
So that is 23 votes. How many councillors are at the meeting?
4 abstentions. 4 abstentions, sorry.
4 votes. How many are at the meeting, please? Sorry? How many councillors have we at the meeting, please?
We have 23 at the meeting.
Right. Okay, well, the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed, councillors. And thank you very much to the Finance Committee. Councillor
Westerman.
Sorry?
Councillor Westman is waving furiously.
He's waving furiously. Councillor Westerman, if you're waving furiously, let's listen to what you have to say.
I just wanted to know who seconded it, and it was proposed by the chair.
Councillor Curtis.
Councillor Curtis, thank you very much. I just didn't cop that. Thank you.
Thank you. Budget item 11, agenda item 11, councillor vacancies. These are just for noting. There are vacancies, the following vacancies have been declared in Morton and Sandbeds, Highfield and Knoll Park wards. The notice of vacancies expires tomorrow, 29th of January. I know there was a difficulty for people in the, because of COVID, to go around knocking on doors, obtaining 10 signatures, but I understand Bradford put out on their website that you could actually do it electronically, but do a wet signature that was photographed in place of people knocking on doors. We won't find out if any of that's happened until we get something from Bradford, so therefore this is simply for noting. Agenda item 12, memorial bench policy for decision to consider a recommendation from the Allotments and Landscapes Committee for an updated memorial bench policy. Councillor Mounsell, please.
Yeah, very simple one. The Allotments and Landscape Committee were getting requests from some residents who had, well, one really, maybe two, who wanted to have clarity on benches which they'd put in town square. quite rightly, the office brought forward the fact that we didn't actually have a policy for that. So this policy aims to clear some of that up.
So is there a proposal, Councillor Mansell, or are you just doing it through the committee?
No, he's proposing it, Chair.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder then, please? Councillor Kerr. All those in favour?
Yeah, that's passed, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 13, Keithley BID. It says for noted, but in light of the fact that this young lady's been and had a few words to say, does anybody wish to add anything to her?
Yeah, Chair, can I, before Councillor Westman has his hand up, just before, if you will permit me, can I just say one or two words?
Yes, you can.
So originally, this would have been tonight a report on whether or not the council would vote, or how the council would vote in the Keithley BID ballot, which is up for renewal this year. The ballot has been delayed until the summer. So I know members were keen to have the debate, so I thought it best for me to bring some information to you. You can talk about it tonight, but it will come back to you again before the summer when we actually get the ballot papers and the business plan. And at that point, you will then decide whether you support the bid or whether you wish, or how you wish to vote. But you're free to talk about it tonight. I just want to clarify that you don't have to make any decisions, but you can talk about it as much as you like.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Councillor Westerman, please.
Thank you, Chair. The reason why the bid's on is because I contacted Bradford Council. I put freedom of information, which every member should have had a copy of, requesting how much money the bid's brought in. And I was quite surprised by one of the questions when I asked what the salaries was and things like that. And they said they couldn't tell me with them being a private company. Now, a private company that gets a district council to do all their paperwork for them, i.e. sending bills out, etc., you know, and collecting them for them, you know, that's very good for a private company. I don't know any other private company that can get a council to a district council to actually do all their billing work for them. And on top of that, pay them £40,000 a year. This is what the income is on the bid. Year one levy, 236,000. Income from Bradford Council, 40,000. Additional income from Keithley Town Centre Association was another 40,000. They had 326,000. Over the last 5 years, they've had 1.43 million, 1,430,000. 4 of them years, they've had £40,000 from Bradford. The expenditure on them was what they'd spent on marketing and promoting Keithley. Out of £246,000 last year, they spent £97,000 out of all that money. They're a non-profit organisation that have 5 directors. I did notice the things that Keithley BID claimed they do in the town. They said one of the biggest things to do is in the Airedale Centre. Now, let's have a look at this in realistic terms. Every small company pays 1.5% levy, apart from the shops, the large shops inside the Airedale Centre that only pay 1%. 84% of activities that go on through the bid are in the Airedale Centre. Right? It doesn't benefit the shops around the Airedale Centre, mainly for inside. I feel sorry for the little stallholders that's got little shops like Laura and little boutiques that's having to pay 1.5% into these. Your takeaways, your things like that, all pay 1.5%, and nothing is going on outside their stores to promote them. I think Bradford Council should be looking at that £40,000 they give to the bid, giving it to Keithley Town Council and saying, you promote Keithley Town Council with £40,000, because I'm sure we could do a damn sight better job than some people. The reason why the bid's set up is because people used to work for Bradford Council in the town centre. And they thought, right, we don't need them, so we'll give them another job and set up a bid. It clearly states in there, for admin costs and salaries per year, £30,000. I'd like to know how you can employ 2 full-time members of staff and a part-time member of staff, run an office with all your admin costs for £30,000 a year. I think that's very, very misleading, that £30,000 a year. And it's about time that this council contacted Bradford. And I would like this council to contact Bradford and inquire as to why they did give £40,000. It was only this last year they haven't given the 40. but they've had £160,000 to promote Keithley. If them have promoted Keithley as good as they should do, I feel sorry for anybody else that's trying to open a business in Keithley. The amount of derelict properties in Keithley and empty shops and businesses moving out is scandalous. And Bradford Council really need to take a good look at themselves. I, for one, will be asking at the next full council meeting, put a proposal, we do not support the bid. You know, and I encourage Laura Kelly and other business owners in the town to get together, have a little discussion amongst each other and see if they really want to pay an extra 1.5% levy. The business rate levy is set by government at 2%. This is an extra 1.5% on it. It's 3.5% they're paying really, which I think is scandalous. End of my speech, Mr. Mayor. Let's move to for the next meeting.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to make any comments?
You've got councillors Andrea Walker and councillor Amjad Ahmed, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Andrea Walker, please.
Sorry about that. I had to unmute. Am I off mute now?
Yes, you are. On you go.
When I first came to Keithley nearly 43 years ago, and there was loads of shops in Keithley. Now, when I look around Keithley and I think all the, like Councillor Westerman said, all the vacant shops, and then you had all your names like before Beals, it used to be Sumwin House, Marks and Spencer's, and all your little shops. And to me, small shops make a big difference. And I'm not saying Keithley's dying, because I won't use that word, but if only, like Councillor Westerman said, we should be supporting small businesses. And I totally agree with what Councillor Westerman says. Small businesses, from a clothes shop to a takeaway, a cafe, make Keithley, and we should be supporting them.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. That's brilliant. Yep, I'm sure that small businesses will agree with every word you just said. Who was somebody else wanted to? Oh, Councillor Ahmed.
And then Councillor
who?
It's Councillor Ahmed, Bernardini, and then Anaya.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed, please. We've got to bear in mind, everybody, that this is, it's just for noting, we will be having this discussion at some stage in the future as well. So, yeah, please, Councillor Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just with regards to the bid, before the bid came along, the Town Centre Association Board, they used to do everything, the promotion of Keithley Town Council. Sorry, not the Town Centre, and Keithley Town Council used to put in, I think, £10,000. I remember that because I used to be on the board for a couple of years, and before myself, it was ex-councillor Tony Wright. So everything that these guys are doing currently now, this was all being done. The chair was the town centre manager, and the Christmas lights that they were doing currently, we've done all that. So I can't really understand, as Councillor Westerman is saying, is how come, you know, they've got paid people to do this, and Bradford Council are paying them towards this, when this was all done on a voluntary basis.
Yeah, again, I can't disagree with the word you've said. Councillor Bernardini, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I do agree with what Councillor Westerman said, and I think we should ask the businesses in Keithley if they feel that they want to support the bid or not, and we should go with what the majority of the businesses in Keithley will indicate to us. I'm not going to make this decision on my own, but if we have got, for instance, 100 businesses in Keithley Town that are going to telling me, the majority of them, that they are not happy with it, of course I will be against or in favor if they will say that they are brilliant. But yes, again, I believe that's the businesses in Keithley Town decision, and I will back up that, whatever it is.
Democracy at work. Thank you very much, Councillor Bernardini. I'm sorry, Clark, who was next?
It's Councillor Anayat next, Mr.
Sorry,
Mayor.
yeah. Councillor Anayat, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think the consensus is clear really around the table. I don't believe in these cash-strapped times we're getting value for money. I certainly agree with Councillor Westerman that more information should be sought from Bradford Council in relation to what value for money we are getting. I particularly like the term Laura used earlier about recreate Keithley. And I have to say that if it indeed it is the BID's responsibility to promote and recreate Keithley, then I've not seen much of it in the last few years.
Thank you. That's again, I can't disagree with the word you said. I think very, very well put and succinct. I don't intend to go much further with this because, as you say, it's simply for noting. I think the general consensus of opinion is throughout the council is the same. So yes, when we have the actual discussion and we vote, we do get a vote as whether going forward, but we do as a council, we only get the one vote, but I think I know how it's going to go. But thank you for your input, councillors. And moving on to agenda item 14, the local council award scheme is for decision, so we will need a proposal. Can I just relate back to the town clerk, please, for his input on that one? It is a NALC sponsored thing, and it's for us to join or to ask them to give us an award. I think, Joe, can you enlighten us on that one, please?
I can, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. So, excuse me. The local council award scheme is run by NALC, so the National Association of Local Councils, and it is a way to benchmark yourself against good practice. There are three levels. There's foundation, there's quality, and there's quality gold is the top level. All of them have various different criteria in which is set out in the report. I've had a look at what those criteria are. I think that we are pretty much almost there in terms of the quality mark, which is the mid score, if you like. A little bit of tweaking, a little bit of work to do. I do think it's something the council should do. It's a sign that you are doing the right things. It's a sign that you have the right policy in place. It's a sign that you've got the right procedures in place. It's got the sign that you are doing the community development and the outreach and being community leaders. The suggestion in the report is that you agree in principle, you ask the Policy and Governance Committee to oversee the development of the submission. The next round isn't until the 7th of May, and results get announced on the 6th of August. We've got a bit of time, but not a lot of time. So it's just asking council to agree in principle to apply to the scheme or apply for the award, and to ask P&G to do the legwork of pulling together the submission.
Thank you very much indeed. So I need a proposer to allow us to go forward to enter this scheme. And have a proposer.
Councillor Nyatt, Chair.
Councillor Nyatt, seconded by Councillor Adams. All those in favour? That's carried, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Right, the next agenda item is when I can find my bits of paper, I've been sorting it out. I'm going to move the damn things on. It's agenda item 15. That is the reports from outside bodies, which are simply for noting, unless anybody's got any questions. Councillor Mounsell has put in a report in relation to the Oakland Village Society. I made a report regarding the local council, parish council liaison meeting, and the reports from Councillor Cooper and Councillor Nyatt regarding the Yorkshire Local Council Association, which hasn't met since the last meeting. Does anybody wish to ask any? You've all got the reports in your papers. Does anybody wish to ask any questions on either of those two items that there is a report for?
I don't see any hands, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That's duly noted then, Mr. Clark. Agenda item 16, notice of motion for decision. Proposed by Councillor Mahmood and seconded by Councillor Nazam. Do we have a proposal, please?
Councillor Mahmood wants to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Who?
Councillor Mahmood wishes to speak.
Yes, well, I want him to propose. I want a proposal and second, and then we'll debate it. So, Councillor Mahmood, please.
Can everyone hear me?
We can indeed. Welcome.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This proposal is proposed by myself and seconded by Councillor Nazam. Councillor Abid Hussain was a councillor in Keithley for the last 10 years. More importantly, he was also a father, a grandfather, uncle, brother, and a friend to so many. Councillor Abid was personally a relative and a friend since the 80s. We've known each other since then. His character was brilliant. He was always smiling. He dealt with people in the nicest possible way. His dedication to Keithley and to public service was, in my opinion, second to none. His work rate was phenomenal. As Lord Mayor, he raised nearly £100,000 for charities, and he visited the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh at his own expense. He would help anyone at any time. He was supportive of everyone, despite their political affiliations. Amongst many others, Councillor Nazam, Councillor Kirby, and many others will testify. He also contributed and was a big supporter of our town council. There are many examples of Councillor Abid Hussain's work in the town, and I could spend a long time just talking about those. But perhaps his most important was helping and supporting families. Very poignantly was when a family member passed away. He was always there for them at any time of the day, night, evening, whenever, whether that was dealing with the coroner, the hospital, the graveyard, etc. And he passed away on Thursday, 24th December. On the Tuesday before he passed away, just on a final point, on the Tuesday before he passed away, he went on the ventilator on the Tuesday. But on that morning, he was still making phone calls from his hospital bed, helping a family whose child had passed away. So his dedication, his efforts were second to none. He dedicated his life, his last 10 years of his life, to the town. He truly did. So I'm requesting everyone to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and well done. Obviously, a hard thing for you to do. Do we have a seconder, please?
Councillor Nazam was just second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Adams, you wish to speak?
Yeah, Chair, we've got Councillor Adams, Councillor Anayat, Councillor Kirby in that order.
Thank you. Councillor Adams then, please.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Whilst I think it's very admirable what District Councillor Hussain contributed to the community in Central where he was, I'm a little bit, I would much rather, yes, by all means, have a plaque, but I would rather it come out of maybe Councillor Nazam and Councillor Mahmood's Ward Improvement Fund. I'd just like to remind everybody that it's just over a year ago that we lost Councillor Barry Thorne, who was not only a district councillor, he was a town councillor as well, with over 40, well, almost 40 years service. He was also the Lord Mayor. And we haven't done anything to commemorate that within the town council. I just believe that whilst I agree that a plaque is in order, I think it should come out of ward improvement fund, and not out of the council funds, because where do we stop? Do we do the same when something happens to councillors Doreen Lee, who was also been a mayor, councillor Zafar Ali, who was also a mayor, and other district councillors? You know, I'm just conscious that we'll be setting a precedent here, whereas if it comes out of ward improvements, it doesn't. I'm also conscious, and you're all aware, that we received an email from Councillor Adrian Farley regarding this plaque and suggesting that it could be installed into the Labour Party headquarters on Devonshire Street. That makes it then a plaque for a certain amount of people. No, not everybody in the town would get to see this plaque. So I wouldn't be supportive of Keithley Town Council per se paying for a plaque for Councillor Hussain, but I would support it coming out of ward improvement fund money. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Anayat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we were all devastated at the news of Councillor Abid's passing. When he was taken into hospital probably a week before he died, I received a call asking me to chair a meeting that he was supposed to chair, and that's how I learned he was taken into hospital for this condition. And you know, I think we still can't come to terms with the huge loss the town and the communities of Keithley have sustained because of the passing of Abid. As Councillor Mahmood has already pointed out, Councillor Abid Hussain supported the Keithley Town Council, and all the years I've been involved in the Town Council, I've seen firsthand how he felt about the council and how he supported the council. And indeed, many of the councillors who knew him well, how he supported them and then the Town Council. Just putting to one side, you know, the cost implications and where it goes, I think Abid didn't just work or support the central ward in the town, which is the biggest ward, a district ward in the town anyway, but he was also the chair of the area committee for a long time, where, you know, a lot of the decisions that council, that group made was across the whole of Keithley. But I know personally that he was for Keithley, not just for Central. He was for communities that needed him. So you know, our heart goes out to his family, you know, in terms of the loss that they've sustained, and his friends and so on. So I would definitely support this gesture. In relation to how we go forward, that's up to the colleagues around the table. But certainly it is a worthy cause. And I take Julie's point also, that maybe some sort of recognition should have been made for Barry, who I was quite close to at the time as well. But in situations like that, you're so devastated, you can't even think straight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Kirby.
Am I unmuted? Yeah. First of all, it was a very big shock regarding Abid's passing. I remember in 2014, when I first joined the council in May, Abid congratulated me. He was always there, regardless of whatever party you come from. He was only at the end of a phone call. And in 2000, I think it was 18, when that man stood up in full council chambers, town council chambers, and pointed to me and said, "You will be a district councillor." I was sat next to Chris Hurd. And he says, "And you will be sat next to Chris." It took a lot for that man to say that in front of all his Labour colleagues. But number one, he was a gentleman, didn't care about what party you come from. If you needed help, Abid Hussain were there to help you, just like other district councillors. But I think with Abid, I can always remember his smile. His smile were infectious. It used to get you smiling. And I will support the motion. But I think we need to speak to his family as well regarding the plaque, because I don't think the plaque will go into the Labour Party. I wouldn't even think that Abid would want that, to be honest. But you talk about Barry Thorne. In 2018, or whenever Barry died, 2018, I think it was. 19, Julie, was it? Yeah. There was talk about putting a plaque up for Barry, as I spoke to Julie about not so long ago. And it, unfortunately, with COVID and that came in, it was put on a back burner. But there was talk, and the talk was that the wood up at Dam Ends would be named Thorne Wood, and a plaque would be put up there for Barry, because that's where Barry used to love going. So there is something in the pipeline for Barry, and he will never be forgotten, because he also was a true gentleman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby. Councillor Westerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also suggest that ward funding money for this plaque, which is a good idea, and it's funded from the councillors from the ward that he really represented. But what I can say about former councillor Abid Hussain is that I was in hospital in 2015, and I think one of his parents was at the same time, and he found out I was in there. I had an heart attack, and he made time that day to come away from the people that he were visiting. He came to my ward to visit me, and what he said was, "If there's anything you'd like bringing, I will bring it for you." So I jokingly said a packet of cigarettes, and the following day brought me a packet of cigarettes to hospital. You know, that's the type of guy he was. And he said, "You shouldn't be smoking." But going back to the proposal, I think, yes, something could be done, but through the ward funding, and possibly like we were talking about the green space at the top of Cavendish Street. We could have something on there, like when they put the new benches, hopefully, and it stays a green space, something put on there, you know, and it would be nice, rather than it being locked up in an office that only certain people would see. It's somewhere for his family to see the plaque and say, that was my uncle, that was my dad, that was my granddad. That plaque is in their memory. They're not going to be able to show the future generations of the Abid family the plaque, because it'll be in an office. So I wouldn't go for it going in an office. If it's going to be anywhere, it's got to be on display so people can actually pay respects in years to come. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Westerman. The motion is, if I read it correctly, is that we ask the clerk to liaise with Councillor Abid Hussain's family, and it says the style, wording and sighting of the plaque be arranged in consultation with his family. And I think that's all we need to do. I think what we need to do is to allow the clerk to, and probably through Councillor Mahmood, to deal with Councillor Hussain's family in order that this plaque be made and cited in a suitable place. So, Councillor Dowse, yes,
yeah,
Councillor
Councillor Dowse has his hand up just because he can't see.
Yeah, I've just asked him to come in.
Sorry.
Councillor Dowse, please. You need to unmute yourself, Mick.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Julie partly. I believe every fallen councillor or something, shouldn't we do something for them all rather than just odd individual ones? Everyone who's passed away, there should be something for every one of them rather than just individuals, personally. So I think the other people will feel that want something done for my father or mother or whoever. And I think it should be, if you're going to do for one, you must do for them all. Well, it makes it right, personally.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a valid point. Councillor Mahmood, can I ask, do you have any thoughts on that matter?
Yes, I'm proposing that we put this proposal that as it is to the council. I think it has been done before, if I'm correct, and someone can tell me otherwise. The has paid for a plaque before, so it's not never been done before. I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? You get nationally as well. You know, yes, every death counts and every single person counts. There's no doubt about it. But you know, you don't have plaques nationally for every single person, but there are certain characters, and you know, Abid was genuinely a giant in Keighley for his dedication, and he did it for all communities as well. He was a giant amongst the Asian community, but he did it for all communities, and he was like that all the time. So yes, fully understand there are circumstances. I mean, there's the deaths as well. Every death counts, but I think we should put this proposal as it is forward to the council to decide.
Chair, you've got Councillor Bernardini and Councillor Nazam who seconded it. Perhaps should be the last speaker.
Yes, well, in that case, yeah, Councillor Bernardini.
Sorry. Councillor Munsell also had his hand up, but didn't see him.
Right, okay.
Yeah, sorry. In this case, I'm gonna be more conservative than others. Yeah, every death counts, but some people stands out. And so I agree with Councillor Mahmood. Some people stands out, and or otherwise we would have a plaque for everyone. Said that, the motion as it is, I don't know, but I will personally be happy to contribute with my ward improvement funds to support the plaque. I can do it this way. I can vote in favor for the council to do it. At the end of the day, whichever way we do it, we are still honoring the councillors. So absolutely, either way, I will be in.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bernardini. Councillor Mounsell, please.
Yeah, just a quick one. I mean, I think it's quite clear that, you know, the plaque is, I knew Abid very well, but we do need to address the financing of it, because that's the one thing which is missing from the motion. So I would suggest, as a rather sensible addition, it is funded through Ward Development Fund to give it that budget heading. Otherwise, we're taking out of reserves, and there's no need, because there's enough money in ward improvement to fund it. So I'd make that amendment that it's funded via ward improvement, and any councillors who wish to contribute can do so, and finance will deal with that at the next meeting or whenever it comes up.
Thank you very much for a very sensible suggestion. So, Councillor Mahmood, would you be minded to amend it that the funding comes from the ward improvement funding, but the rest of it stands? In other words, that you are going to ask the clerk, with you, I would suggest, speaks to the family of Councillor regarding the style, the wording, and the positioning of the plaque. Would that be of value to you?
No, I feel strongly that this should be a real contribution from the town council. I think the town council should recognise the work that was done, the efforts that was put in, and I feel I want to put this motion as it is forward to the council.
Well, the thing I'm trying to point out to you, Councillor Mahmood, is there is no mention of paper. Hang on. Oh yes,
it is.
Okay.
There is.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, we'll put it to the vote.
Chair, sorry, Mr. Mayor, just before you, can I just perhaps just a bit of just before you go to the vote, Also, there is an issue here in terms of how the town council commemorates a former councillor. I think there's a piece of work for the council to do separate to this in terms of how it deals with such circumstances, and perhaps that's something we can look at through policy and governance, and we'll bring a report back if that's what the council wants. In terms of the payment of the plaque, why don't you agree in principle, you agree tonight the proposal set out, but you ask the Finance and Audit Committee to look at the cost and find a way of paying for it. And then we're sending it back to Finance and Audit Committee. We can work out how the payment's done there while still making sure that the commemoration and the sighting of the plaque is agreed with the family. It might be the easiest way rather than trying to go around and agree the budget heading line tonight where it's going to come from.
Right, I don't know if I understood that, but so are we proposing that we agree to this in principle? We ask the Finance Committee to sort the funding out.
Councillor Nazam, I think.
Before, yeah, I know, but before I go to Councillor Nazam, because he's will with the final word on the subject before we go to the vote. Can I just clarify with you, Clark, what it is you're actually saying we should be doing?
Well, Chair, it's not for me to make a proposal. I was just
no, I'm not asking you to make a proposal.
There was some discussion about the budget lines, and perhaps rather than full council doing that, why don't you agree in principle and ask the Finance Committee to resolve the issue of which budget line you take the finance out of?
Thank you. That's great. Councillor Nazam.
Thank you, councillors. Good evening. I'd just like to point out, I've had my hand up on a number of times, and I've texted the town clerk as well asking to speak, but I don't know, is there anything else I can do next time if I wanted to speak on something? Because if you don't see us, then we don't speak.
Yeah, I can only apologise for that, Councillor. It's just...
Well, tonight is probably one of the most important meetings of the year where we decide the precept, and I would have liked to have spoken on that, but unfortunately I wasn't seen. So I don't know if we want to devise another way of speaking, but anyway.
Well, I think the answer is we all get vaccinated and we get back in that council chamber. I think that's...
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you all should be volunteering.
Yeah.
Anyway, on you go.
Anyway, I think previously in the past, if I think I remember the KTC purchased, was it a bench in memory of, was it Councillor Rhodes, the late Councillor Rhodes?
A tree.
Was it a tree or so? Yeah. So again, it's not just, wasn't a recommendation just on behalf of Councillor Shazad and myself. A number of people from the community itself have asked for the memorial plaque. In relation to Councillor Adams, about some email from Councillor Farley having this plaque in the Labour office, I would just say to that, if the Labour Party want a plaque, then the Labour Party should pay for it and shouldn't come out of KTC at all. This is not about where the plaque should go. I think the number of people Councillor Abid Hussein's death has affected, this is something the community of Keithley want, and how we go about doing that, or how we go about paying it, I think is irrelevant. I think the and ward, asking from the ward improvement funding to fund this, where in the past where we have funded things in memories of councillors, maybe going forwards we need to have a policy, but that's going forwards. We would like to go back to the community and say, yes, we did put a motion on the council agenda. It was discussed, and the KTC was in favour of it, and it's going ahead, rather than saying, you know, we'll try and find the money for where we're going to get the money from for the plaque. So I fully second this motion, and let's put it to the vote.
Right. We don't have a budget line for this, do we, Clark?
Chair, we don't, and that's why all I would suggest you change is you just the cost, the provision of this plaque being decided by the Finance and Audit Committee, and then you send it back to committee, send it back to Finance and Audit, and they can agree the budget line of where it's going to go. It's a matter to you whether or not you yes, it's that. I think that's the most sensible solution you could come up with.
Well, in that case, in that under those circumstances, the council will be paying for the plaque, will they not?
Yes, Chair. Yeah.
Yeah. So the proposal is that the cost for the provision of a plaque, its production and site be met by Keithley Town Council. The style, wording and sight of the plaque be arranged in consultant with Councillor Hussein's family. That will be through the clerk and Councillor Mahmood. Councillor Westerman, you've already spoken on the matter. I'm good. Are you saying a point of order? I'll listen to a point of order, but so
thank you, Chair. It's just, and Councillor Nazam will agree with me on this, and I'm sure the councillors will. When it says Keithley Town Council will agree to pay for this, we normally say we have a maximum amount that we've paid. Otherwise, it could be open-ended. We could say, right, as a council, we've agreed to pay for it. We might have something for £10,000. We might have something for £100. There's got to be a limit on what is going to be spent, unfortunately. And that's a correct point of order for clarification purposes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood, I'd like to speak with you again. Are you happy that there is a cap put on the actual amount of money we spend?
Look, I'm not. The thing is, I think, look, we would always be sensible. Obviously, no one's going to propose to do a mega spend. It's going to be a sensible, respectable plaque. I think by putting a figure on that for whatever, and we go a little bit over, it just caps it all. I personally think we should trust the clerk. We should trust us to do a sensible plaque, and I think we will do. Unless the town clerk feels that we legally have to.
John, question through you, Chair. Look, the resolution, as it's set out, the cost of the provision of the plaque, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to suggest a figure, when we did the plaque for Margaret Wintringham earlier in the year, we put a figure of £500 in, and that was it. That was the ballpark figure that we had. That was a previous plaque. That'd be more than enough to get something which is commemorate and appropriate for Councillor saying. But again, it's up to you as members, Chair.
Thank you. So I think it's probably advised. Sorry,
Councillor Nazem has his hand up, Chair. We are.
Yeah, I know, but we as Councillor Nazam, as second, I will allow it.
Thank you. Yeah, again, we'd be definitely be sensible to say, put a cap on it, and I think that's a very reasonable cap that the town clerk has said. I just wanted to just raise another point for Councillor Westerman. Next time you raise a point of order, you've got to name the point of order.
Thank you. I am mindful of the fact that this is a very sensitive issue. And I'm also mindful of the fact that there are things that we have done, like for Councillor Rhodes, who was a mayor of Keithley, and we've done things. And I do remember what Councillor Kirby said about naming something Thorn Wood. So the proposal stands as written, other than to say that the Finance Committee will make a decision on where the funds are raised from, and that there is a figure of £500, a maximum of £500 placed on it. I think that's sensible because it then gives people know what they're working at, know what they're working for, and they can then work within those parameters. So on that proviso, can I please ask for all those in favour? All those against? Sorry, Joe, how many have we got?
I can't quite count that fast, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I forgot we're on Zoom.
It has, that's majority, Mr Mayor, but if you want to take any
Okay,
against.
well, we'll do it properly. All those against?
There's nobody against.
Those abstaining?
4, Mr Mayor.
Right, thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 17, committee attendance. It says for discussion.
Yeah, Councillor Akhtar, I think wants to make a point of order.
Councillor Akhtar?
No, it's not a point of order, actually. I'm glad the council has approved that, but I'm just saddened that it's taken us such a long time, although there are some valid points that needed to be addressed. But in future, what I'd like this council to do is refer this matter to policy and governance to come up with a policy in how we move forward with these sort of things.
I couldn't agree with you more.
This long on something, you know.
I could not agree with you more, Councillor.
Yeah, so it needs to be
so I would suggest that we ask that if you want, we could make that into a resolution this evening, which you could propose, and I would gladly second.
Well, I propose that then, that this matter for future recognitions and other things be referred to policy and governance to come up with a policy town council wide.
Thank you, and I would second that. All those in favour?
Yeah, that's passed.
That's passed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for that, Councillor Akhtar. Very valid point. Agenda item 17, committee attendance for discussion. Councillor Walker, is there something you would like to say?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Given the lateness of the hour and the fact that there will be by-elections, this is a matter which I would suggest could safely be deferred to 18 for future agenda for March.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure people will be happy to defer this. So agenda item 18, any items for discussion for a future agenda? We've got one, which is committee attendance. Has anybody got anything else they would like to add?
I don't see any hands, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry?
I don't see any hands up.
Thank you very much indeed. The date of the next meeting is Thursday, the 25th of March 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Can I thank you all for your forbearance? It is an important meeting. It is probably apart from the mayor making, which is another very important meeting. It's probably the most important meeting of the year. Thank you all for your time. I have a thing here that says point of clarification from Councillor Mounsell. Are you wanting to say something, Councillor, before I close the meeting?
I can't see him, Chair.
All right, thank you. In that case, the meeting is closed, and thank you very much for your attendance and for your forbearance at this. I'm sorry, Councillor Mahmood, were you waving at us, or you just say goodbye?
No, switching off.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Good luck and stay.